The theater was loud before it ever became silent. People were talking, laughing, adjusting in their seats, unaware that within minutes, every single one of them would forget how to breathe. The judges were relaxed, leaning back, flipping pens, exchanging casual smiles. It was just another audition, or at least that's what it looked like. No one expected what was coming next. Then the stage lights softened. A single figure walked out slowly from the side of the stage. Not confidently, not dramatically, just, carefully, almost nervously. The contestant looked ordinary in a way that made people overlook them instantly. Plain clothes, no flashy outfit, no dramatic hairstyle, no visible attempt to impress anyone. A few audience members clapped politely. Some barely noticed. Simon Cowell glanced up briefly, then back down again. He had seen thousands like this. People who dreamed bigger than their talent. People who believed hope was enough. The host asked a simple question. Name, age, where are you from? The voice answering was quiet. Slightly shaky, almost unsure. A few eyebrows lifted. The judges exchanged a glance that said the same thing without words. This could go either way, but expectations were already low. When asked why they were here, the answer wasn't dramatic. No tragic backstory delivered with tears. Just a simple truth. Because this was the only place they felt brave enough to try. The audience applauded politely again. Simon leaned forward slightly. What are you going to sing? The answer came. A song known for its difficulty. A song that destroys unprepared singers. A song that even professionals avoid. There was a pause. A small ripple of doubt moved through the room. Some audience members chuckled softly. One judge raised their eyebrows in concern. Another tilted their head, as if silently saying this might not end well. The music began. At first, nothing happened. The contestant stood still, eyes closed, hands gently clenched. The opening notes played softly. The audience waited. Then the first line was sung. And everything changed. The sound that came out of that person did not match the body standing on stage. It wasn't just good. It wasn't just strong. It was unreal. Deep, rich, controlled, and filled with emotion that hit like a wave. The audience gasped. Simon's head snapped up. One judge's mouth fell open. The second line came, stronger than the first, smoother, more confident, like the voice was waking up and realizing the power it held. Whispers spread across the theater. People leaned forward, phones lifted, hands covered mouths. This wasn't luck. This wasn't a fluke. This was something rare. The voice carried pain, hope, struggle, and strength all at once. Every word felt lived, not practiced. Every note landed exactly where it needed to. Simon stopped writing. The judges were no longer relaxed. They were locked in. The chorus approached, the moment where most singers fail. The music swelled. The contestant opened their eyes. And then they did the impossible. The chorus exploded out of them with a power that shook the room. The voice soared effortlessly, hitting notes that made people physically react. Some stood up halfway without realizing. Others grabbed the arms of their seats. A woman in the audience started crying. One judge whispered, "Oh my God." Simon leaned forward, eyes wide, jaw tight. He wasn't smiling. He was stunned. The singer didn't move much. No dramatic gestures. No overacting. The voice did everything. Each note felt intentional. Each breath perfectly placed. As the song continued, something shifted inside the crowd. This was no longer an audition. This was a moment. The judges were no longer evaluating. They were experiencing. The bridge came. The quietest part of the song. The moment, where emotion matters more than volume. The singer pulled back, soft, vulnerable. Every word trembled with honesty. The room became so silent you could hear breathing. People were afraid to move, afraid to break whatever spell had fallen over them. Simon's eyes glistened. The final chorus began. The singer gave everything. The voice rose higher, stronger, fuller, wrapping around the room like it belonged there. It wasn't just singing. It was storytelling through sound. When the final note hit, it wasn't shouted. It was held, controlled, perfect. The music stopped. Silence. 1 second, 2. Then the entire theater erupted. The audience leapt to their feet like a single wave. Screaming, cheering, clapping so loudly it echoed back from the walls. People hugged strangers. Some wiped tears from their faces, stunned by what they had just witnessed. The contestant stood frozen, eyes wide, hands shaking, clearly overwhelmed by the reaction. They hadn't expected this. They had hoped, maybe, but not this. Simon stood up. That alone caused another explosion of screams. He didn't clap right away. He just looked. studied the person on stage like he was trying to understand what had just happened. Finally, he smiled. A real one. One judge put a hand over their heart. Another shook their head slowly, still processing. When the cheering finally calmed, Simon leaned into the microphone. I did not expect that. The crowd laughed, applauded again. Simon continued, choosing his words carefully. I hear a lot of singers. Every day. Most of them are forgettable. Some are good. Very few are special. What you just did was special. The contestants' eyes filled with tears. Another judge spoke next, their voice emotional. That voice does not make sense. It shouldn't come from you, but it does. And that is what makes it extraordinary. The audience cheered. The third judge leaned forward. You didn't just sing a song. You made us feel something. That is the hardest thing to do in music, and you did it effortlessly. The contestant nodded, unable to speak. Simon raised a hand. I need to say something important. You walked out here, and I'll be honest, I judged you before you sang. I was wrong. The audience erupted again. Simon continued, and this is why this show exists. Moments like this. The host walked out, smiling wide, eyes shining. How are you feeling right now? The contestant laughed nervously through tears. Like I'm dreaming. The host nodded. I think all of us are. Simon didn't wait for a vote. This is a yes. One by one, the other judges followed. Yes. Absolutely yes. A final yes. Confetti didn't fall. No button was pressed. But the moment felt bigger than that. It felt earned. The contestant covered their face, overwhelmed, shaking with emotion as the audience roared once more. As they walked off stage, the judges were still talking about them, replaying moments, shaking their heads in disbelief. Backstage, the contestant leaned against a wall, hands over their mouth, trying to process that everything had just changed. Because in a single song, expectations were destroyed. A voice that no one saw coming had stunned everyone. And nothing would ever be the same again.